All right, welcome in, folks. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. Special thanks, as always, to Bleacher Report for having me. The Rams just wrapped up their 2024 preseason. They lost this game 17-15 to the Houston Texans. We're going to get into the thoughts that I had on this game. A little bit different type of game, definitely more on the boring side as opposed to the last two games. Stetson Bennett, I thought, was somebody that was going to start today, and he's obviously made this team and is going to be the backup the next two games. The Rams are telling us that because actions speak louder than words, and they told us that Dresser Wynn was going to start today, and Dresser Wynn went 9 for 16, 72 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. It wasn't the best performance, but he also didn't really do much as far as taking shots down the field. He took a couple, but totally overthrew his man. So because of Wynn and really playing this game conservatively from quarterback standpoint, this wasn't fireworks at all. Kind of made you miss Stetson Bennett a little bit, just because even though he does turn the ball over, he can make some big, wow throws here and there. Zach Evans led today, 14 carries, 45 yards, took two of them in for a touchdown. I wouldn't say he looked amazing, but I thought in spurts you saw some good things from Evans. Boston Scott did not have his best day, 11 carries, 34 yards. Surprisingly, he was out there. The reason I say surprisingly is normally when a guy is going to make the team, he's not going to be out there in preseason game 3, or if he is, very little, not going to get 11 carries. So is Boston Scott on the borderline here? Do the Rams even know necessarily their 53-man roster right now? Are they still undecided? Who knows? But Boston Scott being out there, I thought was a little telling that, he might not necessarily have made the roster like we all just kind of assumed. Dresser Wynn had 3 carries for 20. Showed off his mobility, could be a practice squad guy. To be honest with you, I don't really see a lot there. Obviously credit to him for getting to this level, but I don't really see like enough to justify keeping him on the practice squad and giving up, a spot for, say, some of these other guys. Xavier Smith, I thought it was cool that they got him going as a gadget guy. And then Thompson, the guy that Sir Roderick Thompson, who they signed this week, he came in. He only had 3 carries for 6 yards. They just signed him, so I wasn't expecting him to get too much work. In the receiving room, this is pretty much an Xavier Smith day. I'll have to look back at the snap counts when we get them to see if Tyler Johnson even played in this game. I was told on Twitter he did. I didn't think he did. But I was surprised to see Xavier Thomas get the reps he did. And I do think there's a chance he still makes the roster despite playing a lot today, because I think they look at him as somebody who didn't really get a lot of reps last year in preseason. So giving him all the reps he can, because he's not going to be getting a ton during the regular season. Even if he makes the team, he's going to mainly make the team as a return guy. So thought you saw some really good things out of Smith, return-wise, gadget-wise, and as a pure receiver, caught 4 of 5 for 34. Drake Stoops got in the mix. He's a potential practice squad candidate there. Miller Forrestall caught 2. But for the most part, it was a pretty underwhelming day at the office for the offensive unit for the Rams. A lot of guys sitting. Jordan Whittington didn't play. Yes, Zach Evans and Boston Scott may have, but it wasn't like Stetson Bennett wasn't there. Logan Bruss sat out. Warren McClendon Jr. sat out, and I didn't see Bo Limmer. So, it wasn't like their typical preseason offense that we've seen where, they should probably have more points on the board, but at least they're moving the ball. Today, they just really couldn't move the ball. They scored a touchdown because there was a muffed punt, put them in great position to score. So, they had 2 touchdowns from Zach Evans, but it wasn't a great day at the office. Josh Carty made his only field goal of the day for 21 yards. He missed the extra point. People were upset about that. The way it is, if you're going to miss, kicks, and rookies will miss kicks, miss them in preseason, right? That's the time to miss these kicks. But, I think all in all with the offense, just sticking with it, I thought you saw really nothing to go crazy about. If I'm being brutally honest here, Xavier Smith looked good when, they were rolling out the ones for preseason, the ones, obviously the backups, but I thought Xavier Smith looked really good, throughout the preseason. He wrapped up a good preseason. Out of everybody, I am very curious about two guys. I don't think Evans makes this team. Could be on the practice squad, and if that was the last time we see Zach Evans in a Rams uniform, well, he scored 2 touchdowns, so he ended his Rams tenure on a good note. But I do think that Xavier Smith and Boston Scott are the two that are on the borderline or are going to make this team. So we'll see what ends up happening there. Offensive line, I was surprised to see Zach Thomas playing today. I thought he would have earned enough, to kind of stop playing. He played a little bit. I don't think he played too long, but still surprised to see him out there. AJ Arcuri played, not the full game, but he played. We'll see what ends up happening there. The Rams are really going to have to make a decision because Alaric Jackson was suspended for the first 2 games of the NFL season. And because of that, the Rams have to decide, okay, are we going to keep 9? Are we going to keep 8? Are we going to keep 10 offensive linemen, 11, even 12? They have to figure that out. The roster math has to math, if you will. And there are definitely a lot of, quality contenders there. Justin Dedich has played a really good interior offensive line for the Rams in preseason, the UDFA out of USC. So I wanted to highlight him, but we'll see. I mean, will Connor McDermott make the team? Matt Caskey, Alec Lindstrom, any of the guys that they signed towards the end of preseason? I guess we'll find out. Moving on to the defense, though. Defense was a lot better than the offense. We'll just say. Saw some great things out of Cam McCutcheon, one of the preseason darlings last year. Did he do enough to be on this practice squad? That remains to be seen, but I thought he looked really good today. Jason Taylor, the second, doesn't look like he's going to make the team because he played the majority of the day. I thought Jason Taylor, the second, throughout preseason looked like a model of consistency. He looks like somebody that could really be on a 53. So if the Rams do decide to cut him, I wouldn't be shocked if another team picks him up. I'm not saying they will, but I wouldn't be surprised. Tanner Engel, another preseason darling last year, only got limited snaps in the final game last year to kind of sure that he would be on the practice squad. He played a little bit more today. I think Engel could probably be on the practice squad. Elias Neal showed some things at linebacker. Obviously, the linebackers are all set. We actually learned that during this broadcast, Les Snead came out and said that Omar Speights is not only on the 53, but he's on the 48. So a UDFA out of LSU. The Rams have had a lot of experience, drafting and not drafting, but signing undrafted rookie free agents, especially at linebacker, most notably guys like London Fletcher and Corey Littleton. So now you can add Omar Speights to that list. So great for the Rams. Great job scouting. Great job getting that deal done. He's been great. And so he didn't even play today, and he is locked in and will be on the 48-man roster, which means that he is going to play on Sunday Night Football against the Lions week 1. Little surprising for some people. I've been saying it. I didn't think Trey Tomlinson's role on this team was locked in the way some other people did. Tomlinson did play almost the entire game, so it kind of says that he could very well be cut. Zach Van Valkenburg was on the field, the final play of the game. We'll see what happens there. I don't know if there's enough room, but I like his effort. He's an easy guy to root for. Will be a good practice squad addition. If so, Olakunle Fatukasi, I think at one point was going to make this team, and then Omar Speights kind of pushed him off. But he's definitely going to be somebody. He had a good game today, a leading tackler. I think he's somebody that they're going to try to get on practice squad. Neal's potential, Engel, Van Valkenburg, McCutcheon, we'll see. Taylor definitely if he clears waivers. Tomlinson maybe. Lampkin really struggled today. The last time we saw Lampkin, he only had like 6 or 7 snaps last week. So it was good to see him get opportunities. But yeah, he really struggled. That PI call towards the end of the game, you can't have that. You could argue that's what, gave the Texans the win. Not saying that's the end of the world. Watkins Carlos Watkins played, and, he had a penalty. So obviously that wasn't great. TFL for Corey Durden. I think he's somebody that could make the practice squad. And Nolan 85 says Tomlinson, I don't think makes the practice squad. I think Tomlinson, I think you're right. I think there's a chance Tomlinson will be actually claimed because he's a big enough name, won the Jim Thorpe award. He's a big enough name where a team may have really fallen in love with him during the draft process and has not forgotten him. So that's another thing. That's why I don't like when we just assume that, yeah, this guy will clear waivers and everything, especially UDFAs this year. Like while these guys are fresh on scouts and, decision maker minds. I mean, think about this. Omar Speights, if he was, waived or whatever, if he ended up getting cut by the Rams, do you really think he would have cleared waivers? Absolutely not. There were teams that were trying to sign him in UDFA, and then he goes out there and PFF, everyone has the PFF grades. He's the number one defensive player in preseason. Like, that guy is gone. You're not going to be able to bring him back. So I'm very, very happy the Rams kept him. And I do think because the Rams realize they're going to have to change things up, Aaron Donald let him get away with some things like keeping only 3 linebackers on the roster. This year, you're going to see, I think, 5. I mean, today, Hummel didn't play and neither did Speights. We have not seen Reeder at any point in preseason. He's going to make the team. We have not seen Roseboom and obviously Ernest Jones. I think they keep 5 inside linebackers, and that's a product to the fact that Aaron Donald's gone, and they have to kind of go back to what they normally would do. Like, because other teams don't keep 3 linebackers. They keep 4, 5, and even sometimes 6 inside backers. So that's that. Sean Jolly played a little bit today. We'll see there. I think maybe practice squad. He's been in the organization now for, I think he's been connected to them for the last 3 years. So, we'll see there. Olajiga and Durden, I think those are guys that potentially could make the practice squad. Watkins, I think, is somebody that could make the roster. And Brennan Jackson, I know some people were a little concerned to see Brennan Jackson. Hey, if he's going to be a part of this team, why is he playing? Well, he hadn't played. He was hurt. So I think their intention was they were going to play him in preseason. Keep in mind, it's not a bad thing. It was a 5th-round pick. They even played Cam Kinchins, who was a 3rd-round pick in the first preseason game. So I don't hold that against Brennan Jackson at all. I think Jackson was just getting, his feet wet in an NFL game, regardless of whether it was regular season or preseason. He's somebody they really like. He's making this roster, no doubt about it. But I think they wanted to get him some reps today, and I'm glad they did. So all in all, this Rams team at the end of the day end up with a 1 record in preseason. You never want to be undefeated in preseason because everyone looks back. I think it was the Detroit Lions when they went 0-16. They went undefeated in preseason, so it's always been kind of that jinx. But I mean, I wouldn't have minded a win today. But I'll say this. Hats off to the coaching staff. Hats off to this organization for finding UDFAs. I can tell you right now, Charles Woods and Josh Wallace did not play today, as well as Omar Speights and Jalen McAuliffe. Those are 4 UDFAs where if they did not play today and say this does secure their spot on the 53-man roster, then that's 4 guys that they found that were undrafted. That's like 270-something picks that happened, and they were not selected. And the Rams, they did their job. They found these guys after the draft, and they turned them into quality players that can make an NFL 53-man roster. And not only that, I think this is one of the deepest Rams rosters that we've seen. My only issue is cornerback. Like I've said, I really have a concern at cornerback. But currently, I mean, does Josh Wallace and Charles Woods make this roster? Do they keep 5 cornerbacks? Those are 2 UDFAs. Charles Woods had a great camp. Every time I was ever hearing about him, he was making a play. And Josh Wallace, he had a really good preseason where he was really kind of the shutdown guy. So Josh Wallace from Michigan, Charles Woods from SMU. We'll see what ends up happening there. But Jalen McAuliffe, he didn't play today. A good sign that he's going to make the team, but we'll see. Russ Yeast didn't play either. I think the thing that was really fun about this preseason is last year, they always have one UDFA make it through. But last year, though, it seemed like a lot of the UDFAs in the past that they would have, they couldn't make it. It was surprising. They didn't keep as many as you would have expected. They had like 40 rookies in camp. But this year, having potentially 4 of those guys make it, and Xavier Smith, the guy that was on, the preseason roster last year, didn't get an opportunity. And you see how, the fruits of your labor really pay off. I mean, you know, when you go back and you look at Xavier Smith, if he made this roster this year, this is somebody that barely got a shot last year to do anything in preseason. Put his head down. He worked hard. He was on the scout team, on the practice squad, signed a futures deal, came back to camp, worked his tail off, and now here he is competing for a 53-man roster spot and looking like he's got an inside track to make it. So, again, hats off to this organization. Hats off to the talent evaluation team. This was some really good stuff. There are going to be some really good players that are cut. Justin Dedich is a UDFA that deserves to be on a 53, but this is going to be such a hard team to make that anyone who gets cut, don't just assume that these guys are bad. These are good football players that definitely, like quite a few of them have an argument to be on a 53. And it's hard. When you're a good football team, you're going to have to cut good players. It's a good sign, especially when you're cutting draft picks late in the draft. Like when you're cutting draft picks, that's how you know your team is deep. Okay. And so that's the thing. So I don't know if they'll cut any draft picks outside of KT Leviston. I don't think he makes this team. Maybe he does. We'll see. But I'm kind of, up in the air on that because he never played. He got hurt. We'll see if he starts the year on the PUP list or whatever. But that's what I got for you guys. I mean, in conclusion, you should feel really good. In my opinion, you should feel really good about the scope of the Rams. I know they have injuries. I know they have suspensions. Left tackle suspended, Alec Jackson, Jimmy Garoppolo. Both are going to miss the first 2 games. Tyler Higbee's on the PUP list. I get it. We don't know the status of Havenstein right now. We don't know the status of we actually don't know the status of Alec Jackson. Jonah Jackson, we don't know if he'll be ready week 1. And the cornerbacks are, definitely a question mark. But there's a lot of good here. There's a lot of good to take away from preseason. This game was boring. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But there were some things that you could take away, mainly on the defensive side of the ball. And I'm just glad. I'm glad the Rams are keeping Omar Speights. At least we know that much. He's a very good player, has a chance to start as early as next year alongside Ernest Jones if he's brought back. But do not count him out. I think he can climb the rungs on this depth chart. And I think they know that, which is why they, brought him back. So we'll see. We will definitely see. I'm going to be back on Bleacher Report for those of you who are watching right now and watching, after the fact. I'm going to be back on Bleacher Report next Tuesday, August 27th at 4 p.m. Eastern time to talk about the final roster. So the cut day, we're going to react to the roster. If you want to check out my depth chart projections, I'm going to do a final depth chart projection following this preseason week 3, final 53-man roster with a practice squad. I am going to do that. We're going to have that out for Monday, I believe. Okay. So look for that Monday. Maybe it'll come out tomorrow, but look for it Monday. That's when we'll have that. And then of course we'll find out, whatever happens, with the roster. I'll be back live 4 p.m. Eastern time on Bleacher Report on Tuesday. So appreciate everyone for hanging out. Be sure to check me out on my YouTube channel. It's, Jake Ellenbogen. Just type it in on YouTube. Be sure to follow me on here on Bleacher Report app at JK Bogan. You can also follow me on all social media, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, at JK Bogan. Really appreciate you guys supporting the channel, supporting Bleacher Report, supporting this live stream, supporting the Rams. You guys are the best. You know that. But that's going to do it for me. So you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys real soon. Take care, folks. Later.